This morning we'll begin with the reading of Savitri, Book 6, the Book of Fate. Canto 1, the Word of Fate, page 415. In silent bounds, bordering the mortal's plain, crossing a wide expanse of brilliant peace, Narad, the heavenly sage, from paradise, came chanting through the large and lustrous air, attracted by the golden summer earth that lay beneath him like a glowing bowl tilted upon a table of the gods, turning as if moved round by an unseen hand to catch the warmth and blaze of a small sun. He passed from the immortal's happy paths to a world of toil and quest and grief and hope, to these rooms of the seesaw game of death with life, across an intangible border of soul space. He passed from mind into material things, amid the inventions of the inconscient self and the workings of a blind somnambulist force. Below him circling burned the myriad suns. He bore the ripples of the etheric sea. A primal air brought the first joy of touch. A secret spirit drew its mighty breath, contracting and expanding this huge world. In its formidable circuit through the void, the secret might of the creative fire displayed its triple power to build and form, its infinitesimal wave sparks weaving dance, its nebulous units grounding shape and mass, magic foundation and pattern of a world, its radiance bursting into the light of stars. He felt a sap of life, a sap of death, into solid matter's dense communion, plunging, and its obscure oneness of forms he shared with a dumb spirit identity. He beheld the cosmic being at his task. His eyes measured the spaces, gauged the depths. His inner gaze, the movements of the soul. He saw the eternal labor of the gods and looked upon the life of beasts and men. A change now fell upon the singer's mood. A rapture and a pathos moved his voice. He sang no more of light that never wanes and oneness and pure everlasting bliss. He sang no more the deathless heart of love. His chant was a hymn of ignorance and fate. So here you see that Canto begins with Narad coming into the earthly space. He actually travels down the whole journey, the different layers of consciousness when he passes down from place to place is measured. And he comes with a very bright, happy mood. He sees into the soul of life, the soul of the earth. He understands and feels the grief and pain and joy of earth life. But suddenly when he looks down into the heart of things, and because he is coming down obviously to the palace of Ashwapati, and he feels suddenly there is a mood of change in him. He feels that he no longer chants of the great heart of love, all of that. So a change now fell upon the singer's mood. A rapture and a pathos moved his voice. He sang no more of light that never wanes and oneness and pure everlasting bliss. He sang no more the deathless heart of love. His chant was a hymn of ignorance and fate. So his chant changes as he reaches the earth, from the chant of love and deathless love and so on, to a chant of ignorance and fate. He sang the name of Vishnu and the birth and joy and passion of the mystic world, and how the stars were made and life began, and the mute regions stirred with the throb of a soul. He sang the inconscient and its secret self, its power omnipotent, knowing not what it does, all-shaping without will or thought or sense, its blind, unerring, occult mystery, and darkness yearning towards the eternal light, and love that broods within the dim abyss and waits the answer of the human heart, and death that climbs to immortality. He sang of the truth that cries from night's blind deeps, and the mother wisdom hid in nature's breast, and the idea that through her dumbness works, and the miracle of her transforming hands, of life that slumbers in the stone and sun, and mind subliminal in mindless life, and the consciousness that wakes in beasts and men. So he sang of all of these things. So you can see this whole page is a description of the different songs that Narad, the heavenly sage, when he reaches earth, he sings. He says a description of what he sees on earth, the different moods, the different aspects. So, and the miracle of her transforming hands, of life that slumbers in the stone and sun, of life and mind, subliminal in mindless life. So he also sings of something that we are not very conscious of, that there is a life in the stone. He sang of life that slumbers in the stone and sun. He sang of the glory and marvel still to be born, of Godhead throwing off at last its veil, of bodies made divine and life made bliss. Immortal sweetness, clasping immortal might, heart seeing heart, thought looking straight at thought, and the delight when every barrier falls, and the transfiguration and the ecstasy. So he sang also of things that are going to come, things that are going to be on earth, a new consciousness that will wake in human beings and in animals, in beasts, a consciousness that can, without words, can read thought, so without the need of a mobile, you can speak to each other. Consciousness can sense heart to heart, that without the need of words, one can sense and experience the other person's emotions. So, and as he sang, the demons wept with joy. Why? Because in a way, the demons and the asuras are there to wake up man, push him towards this immortal, deathless state. So they knew that their work would be finished. They could once again become the divine. They could merge into the divine. So that's why as he sang, the demons wept with joy. The asuras wept because they also have come down and they are also doing the divine work, because bringing in all the negatives and all the darkness so that man wakes up, all the suffering and deep pain, so that the human consciousness wakes up. So their work also was done. They would be released from their demonness, from their asuric karma. And as he sang, the demons wept with joy, foreseeing the end of their long, dreadful task. So they could foresee, my work will be done, I don't have to continue. So their bondages would go. And as he sang, the demons wept with joy, foreseeing the end of their long, dreadful task, and the defeat for which they hoped in vain. So and that they would be defeated. Who would be defeated? the asuras, the demons. And they hoped, for which they hoped in vain. They were hoping and hoping that one day the divine powers, the divine Shakti will come and defeat us so that we can be released from this terrible karma that we have to go through, and we can go and merge back into the divine. So that is why these beautiful words. See how wonderfully Sri Aurobindo has described the whole of creation, the depth. That's why the mother says there is no evil in the world. There is no badness in the world. Only things are not put in their right place. That is why she was so much, she was not at all into saying this is good, this is bad, into all the human notions of good and bad. Because she saw they were all there, they're here for a purpose. And so therefore the whole view of life changes. And see how wise Narada is. He's singing of this, he's seeing this. And when he comes down to earth, they all weep with joy. The demons weep with joy. Now can you imagine this poetry? In your life have you heard anything like this? In the most beautiful metric, iambic pentameter. So, and glad released from their self-chosen doom. Note the words that they have chosen. And glad released from their self-chosen doom, and return into the one from whom they came. He who has conquered the immortal seats came down to men on earth, the man divine. As darts a lightning streak, a glory fell, nearing until the rapt eyes of the sage looked out from luminous cloud and strangely limbed, his face a beautiful mask of antique joy. Appearing in light, descended where arose King Ashwapati's palace to the winds in Madra, flowering up in delicate stone. So here is then he says, this man divine who has conquered the immortal seats, Narad, they are referring to, came down to earth, to men on earth, the man divine. There welcomed him the sage and thoughtful king. At his side, a creature beautiful, passionate, wise, aspiring like a sacrificial flame, skyward from its earth seat through luminous air, queen-browed, the human mother of Savitri. So as Narad descends down into the earth atmosphere, and you can see his light, his face limned with light and with beautiful antique joy, that joy that does not ever age. And he comes down into the palace of Ashwapati, and there is seated the Queen Mother, Savitri's mother, and King Ashwapati. There, for an hour, untouched by the earth's siege, they ceased from common life and care and sat inclining to the high and rhythmic voice, while in his measured chant the heavenly seer spoke of the toils of men and what the gods strive for on earth, and joy that throbs behind the marvel and the mystery of pain. He sang to them of the lotus heart of love, with all its 1,000 luminous buds of truth, which quivering sleeps veiled by apparent things. It trembles at each touch, it strives to wake, and one day it shall hear a blissful voice, and in the garden of the spouse shall bloom, when she is seized by her discovered Lord. A mighty, shuddering coil of ecstasy crept through the deep heart of the universe. Out of her matter stupor, her mind's dreams, she woke. She looked upon God's unveiled face. Even as he sang and rapture stole through earth time, and caught the heavens, came with a call of hooves, as of a swift heart hastening, Savitri. As he sang, Savitri is returning in her chariot. Her radiant tread glimmered across the floor, a happy wonder in her fathomless gaze. Changed by the halo of her love she came, her eyes rich with a shining mist of joy, as one who comes from a heavenly embassy, discharging the proud mission of her heart, one carrying the sanction of the gods to her love and its luminous eternity. She stood before her mighty Father's throne, and eager for beauty on discovered earth, transformed anew in her heart's miracle light, saw like a rose of marvel, worshipping the fire-tinged sweetness of the Son of Heaven. He flung on her his vast immortal look, his inner gaze surrounded her with its light, and reining back knowledge from his immortal lips, he cried to her, "Who is this that comes, the bride, the flame-born, and round her illumined head, pouring their lights her hymeneal pomps, move flashing about her? From what green glimmer of glades, retreating into dewy silences, or half-seen verge of waters moon-betrayed, bringest thou this glory of enchanted eyes? Earth has gold-hued expanses, shadowy hills that cowl their dreaming phantom heads in night, and guarded in a cloistral joy of woods, screened banks sank down into felicity, seized by the curved, incessant yearning hands and ripple passion of the upgazing stream. Amid cool-lipped murmurs of its pure embrace, they lose their souls on beds of trembling reeds, and all these are mysterious presences in which some spirit's immortal bliss is felt, and they betray the earth-born heart to joy. There hast thou paused, and marvelling born eyes, unknown, or heard a voice that forced thy life to strain its rapture through thy listening soul. Or if my thought could trust this shimmering gaze, it would say, thou hast not drunk from an earthly cup, but stepping through azure curtains of the noon, thou wast surrounded on a magic verge in brighter countries than man's eyes can bear. So here, Ashwapati, by looking at Savitri, gains all the knowledge of where she went, what she did, and has an intuitive grasp of what happened. And he describes this scene to her, saying that if my thought would trust what I'm seeing, then I would say that you have even not drunk from an earthly cup. You have gone somewhere which is heavenly, something which is extraordinary, immortal. But stepping through azure curtains of the noon, thou wast surrounded on a magic verge, like a magical place you've come from, in brighter countries than man's eyes can bear, assailed by trooping voices of delight. So you've been in a place where there'll be beautiful trooping voices of delight, the birds. And he's describing the woods and the nature where Savitri's come from, this beautiful place. And seized mid a sunlit glamour of the boughs, in fairy woods led down the gleaming slopes of Gandhamadan, where the Apsaras roam. So it's almost like you've been to a place where these celestial beings, Apsaras, they're roaming. So Ashwapati is able to just tell her all this by looking at her. Your limbs, he tells Savitri, thy limbs have shared the sports which none has seen, and in God haunts thy human footsteps strayed, thy mortal bosom quivered with God's speech, and thy soul answered to a word unknown. What feet of God, what ravishing flutes of heaven, have thrilled high melodies round, from near and far, approaching through the soft and revelling air, which still surprised thou hearest. They have fed thy silence on some red, strange, ecstasied fruit, and thou hast trod the dim moon peaks of bliss. Reveal, O winged with light, whence thou hast flown, hastening bright-hued through the green tangled earth, thy body rhythmical with the spring bird's call. The empty roses of thy hands are filled only with their own beauty and the thrill of a remembered clasp, and in thee glows a heavenly jar thy firm, deep, honeyed heart, new brimming with a sweet and nectareous wine, thou hast not spoken with the kings of pain. So here he describes Savitri, an amazing description. And he says, it seems that you have not as yet experienced, you have not yet met the kings of pain, those authors that cause pain. You've been so far in places where you've only seen in fairy glades and beautiful surroundings, had the joy, the brightness of light, but the darkness of pain has not touched you yet. Life's perilous music rings yet to thy ear. Life's perilous music rings yet to thy ear. Far melodied, rapid and grand, a centaur's song, or soft as water, plashing mid the hills, or mighty as a great chant of many winds. Moon bright thou livest in thy inner bliss. Thou comest like a silver deer through groves of coral flowers and buds of glowing dreams. You come like a silver deer through wonderful groves of coral flowers and buds of glowing dreams, or fleest like a wind goddess through leaves, or roamest, O ruby-eyed and snow-winged dove, flitting through thickets of thy pure desires in the unwounded beauty of thy soul. These things are only images to thy earth, but truest truth of that which in thee sleeps. For such is thy spirit, a sister of the gods, thy earthly body, lovely to the eyes, and thou art kin in joy to heaven's sons. O thou who hast come to this great perilous world, now only seen through the splendor of thy dreams, where hardly love and beauty can live safe, thyself a being dangerously great, a soul alone in a golden house of thought, has lived walled in by the safety of thy dreams, on heights of happiness, leaving doom asleep, who hunts unseen the unconscious lives of men. So you have left doom and darkness and pain asleep while you are roaming in these beautiful heights of happiness. What happens? Doom and pain are hunting unseen the unconscious lives of men. If thy heart could live locked in the ideal's gold, as high, as happy might thy waking be. If for all time doom could be left to sleep. So this is how Ashwapati finishes. That if you could be locked in that happy dream of golden bliss and happiness that you're in, then you may not need to face doom and pain and grief. But, he says, alas, if you could do that. So, if for all time doom could be left to sleep. So, in a way, he's almost hinting. Ashwapati has a foreknowledge. He is a great, great yogi. He is a great practitioner. He knows that doom is somewhere going to wake unconscious parts of Savitri so that she becomes more conscious, so that she perfects the human instrument, so that she is able to complete the mission for which she has been sent down to earth. Don't forget, Ashwapati had asked for Savitri as a boon from the World Mother, saying that send down some incarnation, embodiment of yourself to help pain and suffering of the earth. So he knows that Savitri has to undergo that pain and that deep suffering. But right as of now, he says if only doom could stay asleep forever. Because he sees his daughter very happy and she's come back. Narad, he was speaking, not Ashwapati. It was Narad who was holding back the knowledge and the what he knew about Savitri. He spoke but held his knowledge back from words. See, he spoke and yet held the deeper knowledge he had back from words. He did not put it into words. So he spoke but held his knowledge back from words. As a cloud plays with lightning's vivid laugh, but still holds back the thunder in its heart. Just as a cloud plays with lightning's vivid laugh, yet holds back the thunder in its heart. Only he let bright images escape. His speech, like glimmering music, veiled his thoughts. As a wind flatters the bright summer air, pitiful to mortals, only to them it spoke of living beauty and of present bliss. He hid in his all-knowing mind the rest. To those who hearkened to his celestial voice, the veil heaven's pity throws on future pain, the immortal sanctioned seemed of endless joy. So he holds back, and it's almost like we don't have the foreknowledge of the pain or the grief that we are going to go through. Why do we not know beforehand the terrible things that might happen to you in the future? The pain you might have to go through? If you knew beforehand, you wouldn't go towards it, would you? You'd go the opposite direction. So this is heaven's way of protecting you. It's a way that nature uses. It does not let any people know in advance of what they have to go through. So just see the lines that he's written. He hid in his all-knowing mind the rest. For those who hearken to his celestial voice, the veil heaven's pity throws on future pain, the immortal sanction seemed of endless joy. But Ashwapati answered to the seer. His listening mind had marked the dubious close. So Ashwapati had heard Narad saying in the end, but oh, if only doom could be left to sleep. So he marked that word. So he said, he answered Narad, and he said, his listening mind had marked the dubious close. An ominous shadow felt behind the words, but calm like one who ever sits facing fate. Here mid the dangerous contours of earth's life, he answered covert thought with guarded speech. So he had marked the dubious close of Narad's words, and he sat calmly, one who's ever ready to face fate, and yet he answered covert thought with guarded speech. So now Ashwapati is speaking. O deathless sage, he addresses Narad, who knowest all things here. If I could read by the ray of my own wish, through the carved shield of symbol images, which thou hast thrown before thy heavenly mind, I might see the steps of a young godlike life, happily beginning luminous-eyed on earth, between the unknowable and the unseen. Born on the borders of two wonder worlds, it flames out symbols of the infinite and lives in a great light of inner suns. For it has read and broken the wizard seals. It has drunk of the immortals' wells of joy. It has looked across the jewel bars of heaven. It has entered the aspiring secrecy. It sees beyond terrestrial common things and communes with the powers that build the worlds, till through the shining gates and mystic streets of the city of lapis lazuli and pearl, proud deeds step forth a rank and march of gods. Although in pauses of our human lives, earth keeps for man some short and perfect hours, when the inconstant tread of time can seem the eternal moment to which the deathless live. Yet rare that touch upon the mortal's world. Hardly a soul and body here are born in the fierce, difficult movement of the stars, whose life can keep the paradisal note. Its rhythm repeat the many-toned melody, tirelessly throbbing through the rapturous air, caught in the song that sways the Apsara's limbs, when she floats gleaming like a cloud of light. A wave of joy on heaven's moonstone floor, behold this image cast by light and love, a stanza of the ardor of the gods, perfectly rhymed, a pillared ripple of gold. So did you understand that, what Ashwapati is saying? There's hardly a life that can live in a paradisical way, without any pain or without any suffering. So her body like a brimmed picture of delight. So whose body? Savitri. He's now describing how Savitri is feeling and looking. Her body like a brimmed picture of delight, shaped in a splendor of gold-colored bronze, as if to seize earth's truth of hidden bliss. Dream-made, illumined mirrors are her eyes, draped subtly in a slumberous fringe of jet, retaining heaven's reflections in their depths. Even as her body, such is she within. Heaven's lustrous mornings gloriously recur like drops of fire upon a silver page, in her young spirit yet untouched with tears. All beautiful things eternal seem anew, to virgin wonder in her crystal soul. The unchanging blue reveals its spacious thought. Marvelous the moon floats on through wandering skies. Earth's flowers spring up and laugh at time and death, the charmed mutations of the enchanter life. race like bright children past the smiling hours, if but this joy of life could last, nor pain throw its bronze note into her rhythmed days. Behold her, singer. He says, look at her, Narad. Singer he's referring to Narad. Behold her, singer, with the prescient gaze, and let thy blessing chant that this fair child shall pour the nectar of a sorrowless life around her from her lucid heart of love. So please bless her, he tells Narad, that she shall live a life without any sorrow, shall pour the nectar of a sorrowless life around her from her lucid heart of love, heal with her bliss the tired breast of earth. So bless her that she with her blissful heart, lucid heart of love, heal with her bliss. Savitri could heal with her bliss the tired breast of earth and cast like a happy snare felicity, and she spreads happiness. As grows the great and golden bounteous tree, flowering by Alakananda's murmuring waves, where with enamored speed the waters run, lisping and babbling to the splendor of morn, and cling with lyric laughter round the knees of heaven's daughters, dripping magic rain. Pearl bright from moon gold limbs and cloudy hair, so are her dawns like jeweled leaves of light, so casts she her felicity on men. A flame of radiant happiness she was born, and surely will that flame set earth alight. Doom surely will see her pass and say no word, but too often hear. The careless mother leaves her chosen in the envious hands of fate. The harp of God falls mute, its call to bliss. Discouraged fails mid earth's unhappy sounds. The strings of the siren ecstasy cry not here, or soon are silenced in the human heart. Of sorrow songs we have enough. Bid once her glad and griefless days bring heaven here. Or must fire always test the grate of soul along the dreadful causeway of the gods, armored with love and faith and sacred joy, a traveler to the Eternal's house, once let unwounded pass a mortal life? But Narad answered not. So he asked that once let unwounded life go by. Does fire and pain and grief have to, does everybody who is great of soul have to go through it? So Ashwapati is pleading with Narad, the sage. He knows, as I said, he has a premonition. And he's pleading, saying that, can you not just let her pass by, not let this horrible destiny and pain and suffering that I see from my inner sight that will come upon Savitri, let her go by that. But Narad answers him not. He refuses to answer him. Silent he sits. So the last few lines says, or must fire always test the grate of soul, along the dreadful causeway of the gods, armored with love and faith and sacred joy, a traveler to the Eternal's house, once let unwounded pass a mortal life. So you can see that this is as the fate of mortality. So he asks to let her go by. But Narad answered not. Silent he sat, knowing that words are vain and fate is Lord. He looked into the unseen with seeing eyes, then, dallying with the mortal's ignorance, like one who knows not, questioning, he cried. So first he sees the unseen with his seeing eyes, and then pretends that he doesn't know what has happened and what he has seen. And then, asks Savitri that, what happened? Where did you go? Like one who knows not, he pretends as he doesn't know, and he questions, on what high mission went her hastening wheels? So obviously, Savitri is standing there, Ashwapati is there, Queen Mother is there. On what high mission went her hastening wheels? Whence came she with this glory in her heart, and paradise made visible in her eyes? What sudden god has met? What face supreme? To whom the king? The red Ashoka watched, her going forth, which now sees her return. So he's also referring to Dyumatsena. So obviously he's seen everything. Now he's pretending to ask as though he doesn't know. To whom the king, the red Ashoka watched, her going forth, which now sees her return, arisen into an air of flaming dawn, like a bright bird, tired of her lonely branch, to find her own Lord, since to her on earth he came not yet. This sweetness wandered forth, cleaving her way with the beat of her rapid wings. Led by a distant call, her vague swift flight threaded the summer morns and sunlit lands, the happy rest her burdened lashes keep, and these charmed guardian lips hold treasured still. Virgin who comest, perfected by joy, reveal the name thy sudden heart beats learnt. Whom hast thou chosen, kingliest among men? So Narad then turns to Savitri and says, tell us who you have chosen. Reveal the name of the person you met. And Savitri answered with her still, calm voice, as one who speaks beneath the eyes of fate, Father and King. So Savitri answers, turning to her father, Ashwapati, Father and King, I have carried out thy will. One whom I sought, I found in distant lands. I have obeyed my heart. I have heard its call. On the borders of a dreaming wilderness, mid Shalwa's giant hills and brooding woods, in his thatched hermitage, Dyumatsena dwells, blind, exiled, outcast, once a mighty king. The son of Dyumatsena, Satyavan, I have met on the wild forest's lonely verge. My father, I have chosen, this is done. Astonished, all sat silent for a space. So Savitri tells Ashwapati, I have made my choice, and now this matter is closed. Astonished, all sat silent for a space. Then Ashwapati looked within and saw a heavy shadow float above the name, chased by a sudden and stupendous light. So Ashwapati obviously goes within and sees inner kind of revelation of Satyavan's destiny. He sees a heavy shadow above Satyavan's name, but shortly after he also sees a stupendous light. So he looked into his daughter's eyes and spoke, well hast thou done, and I approve thy choice. If this is all, then all is surely well. If there is more, then all can still be well. Whether it seem good or evil to men's eyes, only for good the secret will can work. Our destiny is written in double terms. Through nature's contraries, we draw nearer God. Out of the darkness, we still grow to light. Death is our road to immortality. Cry woe, the world's lost voices wail, yet conquers the eternal good at last. Then might the sage have spoken, but the king in haste broke out and stayed the dangerous word. So Narad was about to speak, no, all is not well. But Ashwapati stopped him because he knew already what was the issue and the problem. And he didn't want Narad to speak those words because in a way, when somebody has realized, as Narad, the heavenly sage, says these things, puts it into words, he materializes it, and the formation then becomes unbroken. You cannot then do anything, you can't change it. That is the power of the sage. So Ashwapati didn't want to cast it into stone. He wanted that there may still be an intervention of a higher kind. For that, he had to stop Narad from speaking. So he said, no, don't speak. So, and then he turns to Narad, Ashwapati, and says, O singer of the ultimate ecstasy, lend not a dangerous vision to the blind, because by native right thou hast seen clear. So he says, please don't tell us, don't lend a vision to those who are ignorant, because ignorance sometimes is a great protection. It is a savior. But if you tell those who already don't know, premonition, suppose somebody told you that you're going to die tomorrow, that is not the best thing to live with, no? Especially if you can't take it or understand it. So it is, and you can't even fight it, because somebody like Narad saying it gives it a definite shape. So he says, please don't speak. Impose not on the mortal's tremulous breast the dire ordeal that foreknowledge brings. Demand not now the Godhead in our acts. So please don't demand now the Godhead in our acts. Don't expect us to be like gods, to be able to bear what you have to say. Here are not happy peaks the heaven nymphs roam, or quails, or Vaikuntha's starry stair. Abrupt, jagged hills only the mighty climb are here where few dare even think to rise. So this is not like Kailash and Vaikuntha, where the brave and the great and the strong can climb. This is, we are mortal, we are on earth, we don't have that strength to be able to go like that. So here are not happy peaks. Heaven nymphs roam, or Kailash, it is spelt in the old-fashioned way, or Kailash or Vaikuntha's starry stair. Abrupt, jagged hills only the mighty climb are here where few dare even think to rise. Far voices call down from the dizzy rocks. Chill, slippery, precipitous are the paths. Too hard the gods are with man's fragile race. In their large heavens they dwell, exempt from fate. So he's referring to Narad's own place. This is where Narad has come from, no? He's come from a place where fate doesn't operate. He comes from a place, he's from Kailash and Vaikuntha. So he says, you have all come from this. You're already realized sages living in that place where fate doesn't stop you. There is no pain. There is no dire knowledge of things to come. You already know. You're in a still static place. But here on earth, don't bring that foreknowledge to the mortal race. So he describes it. Too hard the gods are with man's fragile race. So in their large heavens they dwell. Who? The gods. Exempt from fate. And they forget the wounded feet of man, his limbs that faint beneath the whips of grief, his heart that hears the tread of time and death. The future's road is hid from mortal sight. He moves towards a veiled and secret face. To light one step in front is all his hope, and only for a little strength he asks to meet the riddle of his shrouded fate. Awaited by a vague and half-seen force, aware of danger to his uncertain hours, he guards his flickering yearnings from her breath. He feels not when the dreadful fingers close around him with a grasp none can elude. If thou canst lose her grip, then only speak. So he says, see, when sudden death comes suddenly upon man, he doesn't feel the grip, the immediate sense of death, because it comes so suddenly. So if you give this foreknowledge about death to Savitri and to all of us, then the pain and grief and the foreknowledge of death the suffering that will produce will be more than we can bear. He tells Narad, speak only if you can change this destiny. Don't speak if you can't. Ashwapati has already figured out what Narad was about to say, and he tells him very clearly and very beautifully. See the poetry of Sri Aurobindo here, how he writes. He said, if thou canst lose her grip, whose grip? Death's grip, fate and death. If thou canst lose her grip, then only speak. Otherwise, keep quiet. And there's a great occult, deep, profound truth behind these words. You understand? They never speak. Even the mother in Sri Aurobindo, when disciples and sadhaks used to come to them, and mother knew that something adverse might be happening in the future. She sees it. She would never speak about it. And later she would, to somebody or other, said, yes, I knew that. And they would say, but mother, why didn't you say so? Said, no, but if I had said so, then it would have, there was no way of avoiding it. There was a chance that it could have been avoided otherwise. And that's why she also said, if I tell you to do something, you ask me for something, and I give you a specific instruction or a direction, and then you don't follow it, you've read those words, no? You will suffer. It is better that you don't do it. There will be a karmic suffering. So that is why I don't tell people what to do. Very seldom, she should say. So somebody would come to her, mother, shall I get married? Mother, do you think marriage is for me? Mother, do you think I should do this? Mother, do you think I should go out? And she could see the desire of the man, of the person, deeply, deeply there. And she would say, do what you think is best. And, never give an answer. You understand? So these are very deep karmic, very, very deep spiritual things. That is why Ashwapati stops Narad from speaking, for the same reason. Okay? Narad is telling Savitri is marrying him. One says, I made my choice, and Narad knows that Ashwapati is going to die in a year's time, and Savitri is going to suffer deeply, so he could have avoided that suffering. He was trying to think that if he tells her, maybe she won't marry Satyavan. But Ashwapati knew that Savitri was going to marry Satyavan, so he told Narad, keep quiet. So Ashwapati knows his daughter better than Narad. Narad thought, well, if I say that this is going to happen, maybe Savitri will not marry Satyavan, thinking, he's going to die in a year's time. But in this case, he was trying to, one, shield Savitri from inevitable, terrible suffering if she knew.
But what the real question, if he knew that Satyavan is going to die, did he not know that he will not die?
He also knew that. You see the light? He was aware. Ashwapati was aware, not Narad. He says very clearly, our destiny is written in double terms, okay? Through nature's contraries, we draw nearer God. Out of the darkness, we still grow to light. Death is our road to immortality. Then Ashwapati is saying, then he says, yet conquers the eternal good at last. Then might the sage have spoken, but the king in haste broke out and stayed the dangerous word. O singer of the ultimate ecstasy, lend not a dangerous vision to the blind. So he knew when she says, I have chosen, I have done. Then Ashwapati looked within and saw a heavy shadow float above the name, chased by a sudden and stupendous light. This is why he says all this. That's Ashwapati. So, if thou canst lose her grip, then only speak. Perhaps from the iron snare there is escape. So he says, if you can change her destiny, can change her fate, then speak. Perhaps, who knows, there is a way out of the iron snare, because you always say the iron hand of fate, right? Not the golden hand of fate, the iron hand. So perhaps there is a way out of the iron snare, there is escape. Our mind perhaps deceives us with its words, and gives the name of doom to our own choice. So Ashwapati is way, way deep and wise and profound in his words. Just see what he's saying. Perhaps you can change fate, he tells Narad. So he also hints that we may think it's doom, and our mind may think, but actually is deceiving us, because we have chosen it. So it's not a doom. You understand how wise Ashwapati is. You have chosen your own destiny. Hinting to Narad, maybe Savitri has chosen this destiny. And we think it's doom, because our mind is unable to comprehend it. So, and gives the name of doom to our own choice. Perhaps the blindness of our will is fate. So, these are all perhaps. He said, and Narad answered not the king. And this time Narad refuses to answer again. So you see how clever Narad is. But now the queen alarmed, because the poor queen is standing there listening to this conversation. She's totally alarmed. What are they both talking about? Death and fate and don't speak and all this. So she's totally alarmed, lifted her voice and addresses Narad. O seer, thy bright arrival has been timed to this high moment of a happy life. Then let the speech benign of griefless fears confirm this blight conjunction of two stars. So she says, now that you've arrived at this very happy moment of where Savitri has decided and found the person she wants to marry and wants to live with. So now you speak of all the griefless happiness that will be theirs. Well, Narad is not opening his mouth. So then let the speech benign of griefless fears confirm this blithe conjunction of two stars and sanction joy with thy celestial voice. Here drag not in the peril of our thoughts. Let not our words create the doom they fear. Here is no cause for dread, no chance for grief. So she's in a very wishful state. And she's saying, no, you talk about joy, you talk about how wonderful their life will be, because she knows if Narad speaks, the chances of it happening is very, 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 very high. Narad will not say it unless it is true. So, here is no cause for dread, no chance for grief. To raise her omnious head and stare at love, a single spirit in a multitude, happy is Satyavan. So she keeps going on about happiness and joy. Happy is Satyavan, mid earthly men, whom Savitri has chosen for her mate, and fortunate the forest hermitage, where, leaving her palace and riches and a throne, my Savitri will dwell and bring in heaven. Then let thy blessing put the immortal seal on these bright lives, unstained felicity, pushing the ominous shadow from their days. Too heavy falls a shadow on man's heart. It dares not be too happy upon earth. So, obviously, Queen Mother has picked up on the nuances of the conversation and says, now you bless them. Because the shadow that you people speak of in doom, it is too heavy falls that upon man's heart. And you pushing the ominous shadow from their days. Too heavy falls a shadow on man's heart. It dares not be too happy upon earth. So in a way, there's a philosophic part of the queen that is speaking here. She realizes that happiness on earth is something that man and human beings dared not be too happy. If you're too happy, there is nothing like that. There's a fear that if there's some doom will come. So it dreads the blow, dogging too vivid joys. So in a sense, even too much of joy and too much of happiness is something that man dreads, because he feels that after that will come the inevitable pain. And so it dares not be too happy upon earth. It dreads the blow, dogging too vivid joys, a lash unseen in fate's extended hand, the danger lurking in fortune's proud extremes, an irony in life's indulgent smile, and trembles at the laughter of the gods. Or if crouches unseen a panther doom, if wings of evil brood above that house, then also speak, that we may turn aside and rescue our lives from hazard of wayside doom and chance entanglement of an alien fate. But she says, however, the queen says, but if you cannot bless them, and if you feel that she will not have this eternal joy and griefless days, and you feel that there is a doom, there is some evil brooding above that their house of marriage and of where she's going to go, then also speak, that we may turn aside and rescue our lives from hazard of wayside doom and chance entanglement of an alien fate. So the queen, unlike Ashwapati, thinks that if there is going to be danger, there is a dreadful fate that is awaiting Savitri. She asks Narad to speak about it so that they can all avoid it. So the queen thinks that this can be avoided. Ashwapati is quite different. He asks Narad not to speak. So you see the two, how different they are. Ashwapati tells Narad, don't say anything. The queen says, no, even if it's bad, speak. because then we can avoid it, because she's the mother. So she wants to protect her daughter. While Ashwapati realizes that if Narad speaks about the doom and that this is going to happen, it will make it even tighter. That fate and that destiny will become very, very sure. Okay? So now let's see what Narad does. And Narad slowly answered to the queen. So Narad was obviously thinking and very contemplative, and he slowly answers the queen. What help is in prevision to the driven? Yes. How does it help? So he's taking Ashwapati's clue. What is the point of having a prevision? For me to tell you what is going to happen. How does it help those who have already decided to go in a particular direction? To the driven means to those who have decided, because he saw Savitri said, this is done. And she said it very calmly. So I made my choice and this is done. So she says, what help is prevision to the driven? To those that have decided. Safe doors, cry opening near. The doomed pass on. So there are safe doors that are right there. Savitri, she says, I don't marry Satyavan, and goes through the safe door. She's fine. Nothing's going to happen. But the doomed pass on. They leave the safe doors. They continue because they're driven. So see how beautifully Narad answers the queen. Now I'm going to read it and you understand as much as you can. What help is in prevision to the driven? Safe doors, cry opening near, the doomed pass on. A future knowledge is an added pain, a torturing burden and a fruitless light on the enormous scene that fate has built. The eternal poet, universal mind, has paged each line of his imperial act. Invisible the giant actors tread, and man lives like some secret player's mask. He knows not even what his lips shall speak, for a mysterious power compels his steps, and life is stronger than his trembling soul. None can refuse what the stark force demands. Her eyes are fixed upon her mighty aim. No cry or prayer can turn her from her path. She has leaped an arrow from the bow of God. His words were theirs who live unforced to grieve and help by calm the swaying wheels of life, and so on. So this is how he replies to the Queen Mother, saying that a future knowledge, if you know in advance, is an added pain, a torturing burden, and a fruitless light. He doesn't say what is going to happen. On the enormous scene that fate has built, the eternal poet, universal mind, has paged each line of his imperial act, and so on. Then he says that man who does not even know what he is going to say the next moment, what his lips are going to speak, because something mysterious power compels his steps, and life is stronger than his trembling soul. So none can refuse what the stark force demands. Her eyes are fixed, Savitri's eyes are fixed upon her mighty aim. So she is not going to turn away from it. And that is how he replies to the Queen Mother. She meaning Savitri, has leaped an arrow from the bow of God. His words were theirs who live unforced to grieve, and help by calm the swaying wheels of life, and the long restlessness of transient things, and the trouble and passion of the unquiet world. As though her own bosom were pierced, the mother saw the ancient human sentence strike her child, her sweetness that deserved another fate, only a larger measure given of tears, aspiring to the nature of the gods, a mind proof armored, mailed in mighty thoughts, a will entire couchant behind wisdom's shield, though to still heavens of knowledge she had risen, though calm and wise and Ashwapati's queen, human was she still, and opened her doors to grief. So she realizes after Narad answers her the fate that Savitri has in store for her. She realizes that there is no way out and that Savitri must face death and doom. And even though she is wise and Ashwapati's queen and calm, yet her human suffering, grief comes out. Human was she still and opened her doors to grief. The stony-eyed injustice she accused, of the marble godhead of inflexible law, nor sought the strength extreme adversity brings to lives that stand erect and front the world power. Her heart appealed against the impartial judge, taxed with perversity the impersonal one. Her tranquil spirit she called not to her aid, but as a common man beneath his load grows faint and breathes his pain in ignorant words, so now she arraigned the world's impassive will. She is full of grief. She allows herself to express that. She asks Narad, what stealthy doom, what darkness, which is stealthy means hidden. It comes slowly and quietly without anyone knowing. What stealthy doom has crept across her path, across Savitri's path? She's saying, so what stealthy doom has crept across her path? Emerging from the dark forest's sullen heart, what evil thing stood smiling by the way and wore the beauty of the Shalwa boy? So what is this evil thing that has stood smiling by the way and taken the form of Satyavan? Perhaps he came an enemy from her past, armed with a hidden force of ancient wrongs, himself unknowing. So this is a very important, in a strange way, the Queen Mother is alluding to a very interesting thing, karmic thing that happens. Often people come in our lives and bring terrible suffering and doom, and often we don't understand why this person has a particular role. So she says, perhaps this is something from her past. Perhaps he came an enemy from her past, armed with a hidden force of ancient wrongs, himself unknowing, and seized her unknown. So he himself unknowing that this is what he's doing. Here dreadfully entangled love and hate. Here love and hate are dreadfully entangled, means mixed up. Meet us blind wanderers mid the perils of time. Our days are links of a disastrous chain. Necessity avenges casual steps. Old cruelties come back unrecognized. The gods make use of our forgotten deeds. Yet all in vain the bitter law was made. Our own minds are the justicers of doom. For nothing here have we learned, but still repeat our stark misuse of self and others' souls. There are dire alchemies of the human heart, and fallen from his ethereal element, love darkens to the spirit of nether gods. The dreadful angel, angry with his joys, woundingly sweet he cannot yet forego, is pitiless to the soul, his gaze disarmed. He visits with his own pangs his quivering prey, forcing us to cling enamored to his grip, as if in love with our own agony. So love is a darkened spirit in the world, in this nether world. So love darkens to the spirit of nether gods here. This is one poignant misery in the world. And grief has other lassos for our life. Our sympathies become our torturers. Our sympathies become our torturers. Strength have I, my own punishment to bear, knowing it just, but on this earth perplexed, smitten in the sorrow of scourged and helpless things, often it feigns to meet other suffering eyes. We are not as the gods who know not grief, and look impassive on a suffering world. Calm they gaze down on the little human scene, and the short-lived passion crossing mortal hearts. An ancient tale of woe can move us still. So we are not like the gods. An ancient tale, an old story of grief and woe can move us still, can make us very unhappy and grieve. Calm they gaze down on the list. The gods don't care. They have no feelings, no emotions. Calm they gaze down on the little human scene, and the short-lived passion crossing mortal hearts. An ancient tale of woe can move us still. We keep the ache of breasts that breathe no more. So we keep the ache of breasts that breathe no more. So we remember those we have loved, even though they have died. However, gods don't care. We are shaken by the sight of human pain. So if we see human pain in front of us, we are shaken by the sight of human pain and share the miseries that others feel. Ours, not the passionless lids that cannot age. So here in the overmind, all the gods, they have a certain, they are firstly ageless. Secondly, they have no such emotions and kind of grief and pain. They're impassive and calm and indifferent. We are not like those gods. We share the human pain of others. We share the miseries that others feel. We age, we die, and yet we remember those we have loved who are dead, and so on. Ours not the passionless lids that cannot age. Too hard for us is heaven's indifference. Our own tragedies are not enough for us. All pathos and all sufferings we make ours. So if in the human nature is such that even our own sufferings and own tragedies are not enough for us. We like to know about all sufferings, all tragedies, and we sympathize with them. We make it ours. We empathize. We feel them. You understand? We have sorrow for a greatness passed away. So if you see Rishi Kapoor passing away or somebody else passing away, we feel the sorrow. We feel, oh, such a great person has now died and so on. We don't know him at all. But every sorrow and every grief in the world, we make our own. So this is the nature of human beings. So Amitabh Bachchan will write nice songs, and so will the whole world. So this is the nature of human beings. We are like that. Anything that happens, we must feel it and engage in it. Very different to the gods. They don't feel like that. All pathos and all sufferings we make ours. We have sorrow for a greatness passed away, and feel the touch of tears and mortal things. So we also feel the touch of tears and mortal things. Even a stranger's anguish rends my heart. And this, O Narad, is my well-loved child. Even a stranger's grief and anguish, I feel so much. And this is my own child, my own daughter. And you are saying that in 1 year, the person she is going to marry is going to die, and that she must face inevitable doom and suffering. How can I bear it? She asked Narad. So, and this, O Narad, is my well-loved child. Hide not from us our doom, if doom is ours. So don't hide the doom that you think is going to come upon us, if you feel we are doomed. Hide not from us our doom, if doom is ours. This is the worst, an unknown face of fate. So the worst thing is to have no knowledge and unknown fate, when you feel that something terrible is going to happen and you don't know what it is. The terror omnious, mute, felt more than seen. They feel, there's a sense that some terrible thing is going to happen. You can feel it, but you can't see it. Behind our seat by day, our couch by night. And this terror, omnious, this kind of omnious dread is all the time with us. It is because you have said something like this, now it will lurk with us. It will stay with us. Seat by day, our couch by night. Even when we're sleeping, we will think about this. A fate lurking in the shadow of our hearts. The anguish of the unseen that waits to strike. To know is best, however hard to bear. So she finishes speaking by the last sentence. She tells Narad, don't keep this doom, this dread, this thing that you are trying to hide from us, because it is better to know, however difficult it is to bear. To know is best, however hard to bear. Then cried the sage. So after Narad heard Queen Mother, Savitri's mother, cry out like this, then he replied, forcing to steal the will of Savitri. His words set free the spring of cosmic fate. So now that she pushed him to speak, she speaks. And when he speaks, his words set free the spring of cosmic fate. That means that fate has now become irrevocable. Irrevocable means it cannot be changed. That's why often when something dark is going to happen, something difficult and unseemly will happen, even in those days, Sri Aurobindo, the mother, would never tell the sadhak, never. Suppose he was getting married and they knew that this marriage was going to be disastrous. But the person was still insistent, no, I want to marry this person only. Often people would come to the mother, I want to marry, and who? This one. Mother would look and she would see something immediately, but would never speak. Because if she spoke, and that would become irrevocable. That means it would be set in gold, it would be set in stone. So therefore, if you don't speak, you still have a chance of the grace intervening. You understand the difference? You must be hearing in your families, don't speak these things. Never speak of things, dark things that are going to happen. Don't speak, they always tell you. Why? Same way for coronavirus. I avoided even taking the name of the word corona for the same reason. Don't speak of these things. Don't dwell on these things. Less you dwell, it won't come to you. More you speak about them, more you talk about it, you are attracting that to you. So here, now with that one thing, Queen Mother insisted, no, you have to tell us. So the moment he opened his mouth, he set in motion the cosmic wheel of fate. Finished after that. So his word set free the spring of cosmic fate. See the words. The great gods use the pain of human hearts. The great gods, G with a capital, as a sharp axe to hew their cosmic road. So the pain that human hearts feel, the gods use as a sharp axe, as a hammer. Have you heard this sentence? Pain is the hand of nature, sculpturing men to greatness. So pain is the chisel and the hammer. So it's like a hammer blow. So the great gods use the pain of human hearts as a sharp axe to hew their cosmic road. They squander lavishly men's blood and tears. So you see all these people dying, men's blood and tears. Happily, no problem. 1,000, 1,500, 10,000 dying, 100,000 dying, no problem. Lavishly they go through it. Because they have a reason why they are doing this. There's a high reason, high fate that functions in this world which we are unconscious of. And they have no qualms about taking human life and spilling blood. So, we are only the ones who are crying and mourning. So, Narad says, they squander lavishly men's blood and tears. Tears also. The more you cry, the happier they are. So, keep crying. Because if you don't cry and you don't feel pain, you won't grow. You will stay where you are, you will remain ignorant, and there will be no growth. So they love to almost hurt you so that you grow. This is how fate works, no? They squander lavishly men's blood and tears for a moment's purpose in their fateful work. But they don't care whether you are hurt, unhappy, cry, nothing. They have to continue and accomplish the fate for which you have come on earth, right? So don't you step on ants every day? Do you watch around and see where the ant is and you walk this way, that way? How many ants do you kill with your feet? How often are you in a hurry? So, don't worry. Now don't all of you start looking down. And just imagine yourself like a little ant. One less ant or one more ant won't harm him. But yet, there's a difference, that there is a psychic being. If your psychic being is forward, and if your fate and your destiny, if you're conscious, like you say, no, when I'm conscious, I don't do it. If you are a conscious ant, nobody will be able to harm you. That is the difference. Like you are conscious and you don't harm the ant, no? You step that way. The same way, if you become a conscious ant, nobody can harm you. But to become conscious, you have to get harmed. You understand? How do you explain that? To become conscious, you have to get hurt. You have to feel pain. You have to suffer. Why? Otherwise, how will you become conscious? So now you remember whether you want to be a conscious ant or an unconscious ant. Okay? You have a choice. So all of you imagine yourself like little ants. So this is how it is. Okay? This cosmic nature's balance is not ours, nor the mystic measure of her need and use. So this cosmic nature's balance is not ours, nor the mystic measure of her need and use. A single word lets loose vast agencies. A single word. What is the single word that lets loose vast agencies? The word of Narad, that this day beginning, Satyavan must die. A casual act determines the world's fate. So now he set free destiny in that hour. So who is he? Narad. So now, like the great gods that set free the spring of cosmic fate, he sets free in that utterance destiny of Savitri and the destiny of the earth. So Narad says, the truth thou hast claimed, I give to thee that truth. So he tells the queen, the truth thou hast claimed, I give to thee the truth. A marvel of the meeting, earth and heavens. He whom Savitri has chosen mid men, his figure is the front of nature's march. His single being excels the works of time. As sapphire cutting from the sleep of heaven, delightful is the soul of Satyavan, a ray out of the rapturous infinite, a silence waking to a hymn of joy. A divinity and kingliness gird his brow. His eyes keep a memory from a world of bliss, as brilliant as a lonely moon in heaven, gentle like the sweet bud that spring desires, pure like a stream that kisses silent banks. He takes with bright surprise spirit and sense, a living knot of golden paradise. A blue immense he leans to the longing world, time's joy borrowed out of eternity, a star of splendor or a rose of bliss. In him, soul and nature, equal presences, balance and fuse in a wide harmony. The happy in their bright ether have not hearts more sweet and true than this of mortal make, that takes all joy as the world's native gift, and to all gives joy as the world's natural right. His speech carries a light of inner truth and a large-eyed communion with the power in common things has made veilless his mind, a seer in earth shapes of garbless deity, a tranquil breath of sky, windless and still, watching the world like a mind of unplumed thought, a silent space, musing and luminous, uncovered by the morning to delight, a green tangle of trees upon a happy hill, made into a murmuring nest by southern winds. These are his images and parallels, his kin in beauty and in depth his peers. A will to climb lifts a delight to live, heaven's height, companion of earth beauty's charm, an aspiration to the immortal's air, lain on the lap of mortal ecstasy. His sweetness and his joy attract all hearts to live with his own in a glad tenancy. His strength is like a tower built to reach heaven, a Godhead quarried from the stones of life. O loss if death into its elements, O loss if death into its elements, of which his gracious envelope was built, shatter this vase before it breathes its sweets, as if earth could not keep too long from heaven a treasure thus unique loaned by the gods. So this is Narad's description of Satyavan. He says, oh, great loss it would be if death were to take Satyavan before he could share his sweetness and his wisdom and his divinity on earth. So it's a great description of who Satyavan is, a being so rare, of so divine a make. In one brief year, when this bright hour flies back and perches careless on a branch of time, this sovereign glory ends, heaven lent to earth, this splendor vanishes from the mortal sky. Heaven's greatness came, but was too great to stay. 12 swift winged months are given to him and her. This day returning, Satyavan must die. A lightning bright and nude, the sentence fell. But the queen cried, vain then can be heaven's grace. Heaven mocks us with the brilliance of its gifts. For death is a cup-bearer of the wine of too brief joy, held up to mortal lips. for a passionate moment by the careless gods. But I reject the grace and the mockery. Mounting thy car, go forth, O Savitri, and travel once more through the peopled lands. So the Queen Mother rejects this grace that Narad has spoke about, which is the grace of Satyavan's presence on earth and who he is and what he represents, and the marriage or the communion with Savitri. She says, I reject this mockery and grace. And she tells Savitri, climb back into your chariot and go once again into the world and find a new companion for yourself, one that is not going to be dead in a year's time, one that is not going to be a mockery of heaven against us. Alas, in the green gladness of the woods, thy heart has stooped to a misleading call. Choose once again and leave this fated head. Death is the gardener of this wonder tree. Love's sweetness sleeps in his pale marble hand. So Queen Mother very clearly admonishes Savitri and says that the gardener, what does it do? It nourishes the plant, it waters it, lets it grow, and then it dies. Death is the gardener of this wonder tree. Love's sweetness sleeps in his pale marble hand, advancing in a honeyed line, but closed. A little joy would buy too bitter an end. Plead not thy choice, for death has made it vain. So the Queen Mother clearly tells Savitri, don't now plead your choice, for death has made your choice empty. Thy youth and radiance were not born to lie, a casket void dropped on a careless soil. Your youth and radiance were not born to lie in a casket. In a casket is where they bury dead bodies. Void dropped on a careless soil. A choice less rare may call a happier fate. So there the Queen Mother stops, close inverted commas. So choose something and someone who is less rare, less rarefied, less divine, so that you can call a happier fate. But Savitri answered from her violent heart. Her voice was calm, her face was fixed like steel. Recall the words of Narad when he says, Savitri's will become like steel with these words of mine. So after Narad speaks, and even though the queen answers and tells Savitri, do not persist in your choice, please choose someone else. Yet Savitri says to her own mother, once my heart chose and chooses not again. The word I have spoken can never be erased. It is written in the record book of God. The truth once uttered from the earth's air effaced, by mind forgotten, sounds immortally forever in the memory of time. Once the dice fall, thrown by the hand of fate, in an eternal moment of the gods, my heart has sealed its troth to Satyavan. Its signature, adverse fate cannot efface. My heart has already sealed itself and given itself to Satyavan, and even adverse fate cannot efface that. Its seal, not fate, nor death, nor time dissolve. Those who shall part, who have grown one being within. So she says that I am now completely one with Satyavan. And how can those who are one being within, whose psychic beings have merged, whose have already become one soul and one being, how can they now go apart? And nothing can change this. Neither fate, nor death, nor time can dissolve this spiritual, occult marriage of two souls. Death's grip can break our bodies, not our souls. If death take him, I too know how to die. Let fate do with me what she will or can. So in a way she even taunts fate and says, let fate do what she wants, and whatever she can do against me, let me see who is stronger. Is destiny and fate stronger, or is my will and my own strength of soul and purpose stronger? Who is stronger? So in a way, Savitri now is standing up right here itself against her own destiny and fate and says, I will change it. And she says, let fate, destiny try whatever it wants. She almost like provokes fate. You try what you want. You do what you want. Puts a challenge out. And I will see what happens. So this is the power of the human will. Don't forget, even though Savitri is an incarnation and has a divine, source of birth, yet on earth we are all governed by human laws. And even the divine has to function through the limited human laws of birth, death, and mortality. All the human evolutionary laws work. So Savitri has to strengthen her will, which means you can understand the power of human will, how great it is when you use it, when you are able to garner it. You understand the word garner it? When garner, it's a very special word. Garner means it's somewhat like nurture, foster, develop. These three words explain the word garner. Why? First you have to strengthen your own will. You have to nurture it. You have to bring it forth. Then you have to foster it. And then you have to use it. So these three. Now this will is not something that just springs up from nowhere. You have to create a strong will within you if you want to change destiny, if you want to change your own circumstances. So along with prayer and aspiration, the great importance of will. What is will? Will is something that is a force that is given to us, to you, which comes from a deep inner source, which you could call divine. The will, the strength of the will comes from the soul force in you, what you call as the psychic or the higher forces. It uses your mind, it uses your vital and enthusiasm and emotional being. It uses your body, but it is something that has a great power. That's why they say, develop your willpower. So here, you see what Savitri is doing. She is human on earth, and she says, you try what you want. She stands up and confronts fate and death and says, you want to take away Satyavan. Try and take him away. Let us see who has a greater power of will. So she steals her will. Her will gets steeled. Do you know the meaning of steel? Have you seen what happened when you have thick steel? How strong it is? That's why Mother says, develop nerves of steel. First of all, your nervous system has to become strong. That will strengthen your will, inner will. So there are all stages and stages of it. Your inner being has to become strong so that its power can generate into your outer being, like a generator. When you switch on a generator, what happens? Right? Same way, the generator of your inner power and will, it can change destiny. And depending on your ability to generate a higher will or a higher force, your level of influence changes. So, let fate do with me what she will or can. I am stronger than death and greater than my fate. So here, Savitri tells the Queen Mother, I am stronger than death and greater than my fate. My love shall outlast the world. Doom falls from me, helpless against my immortality. So, doom falls from me. That means even death, doom, darkness falls from me. Helpless against my immortality. Fate's law may change, but not my spirit's will. Please note the words. Fate's law may change, but not my spirit's will. You understand? The will of the spirit and of Savitri's spirit, but not my spirit's will. Close inverted commas here. And now, again, you see the word how Sri Aurobindo uses the same word again. An adamant will. She cast her speech like bronze. Can you imagine? Casting her speech like bronze, like a javelin. An adamant will, she cast her speech like bronze, but in the queen's mind, listening her words, rang like the voice of a self-chosen doom, denying every issue of escape. To her own despair answer the mother made, as one she cried, who in a heavy heart labors amid the sobbing of her hopes, to wake a note of help from sadder strings. So the Queen Mother cries and says, O child, in the magnificence of thy soul, dwelling on the border of a greater world, in the magnificence of thy soul, dwelling on the border of a greater world, and dazzled by thy superhuman thoughts, thou lendest eternity to a mortal hope here on this mutable and ignorant earth. Who is the lover and who is the friend? All passes here. Nothing remains the same. None is for any on this transient globe. He whom thou lovest now, a stranger came, and into a far strangeness shall depart. His moment's part once done upon life's stage, which for a time was given him from within. To other scenes he moves, and other players, and laughs and weeps mid faces new, unknown. The body thou hast loved is cast away amidst the brute unchanging stuff of worlds to indifferent mighty nature, and becomes crude matter for the joy of others' lives. But for our souls, upon the wheel of God, forever turning, they arrive and go, married and sundered in the magic round of the great dancer of the boundless dance. Our emotions are but high and dying notes of his wild music, changed compellingly by the passionate movements of a seeking heart in the inconstant links of hour with hour. So the Queen Mother obviously replies, and her reality, what she speaks of, is also a reality. It is true that most people, what is earth? When you look around you, we come and go, we change our bodies, we have different experiences. Nobody remains on earth forever. Who is the lover and who is the friend? All passes here. Nothing remains the same. None is for any on this transient globe. Nobody is there forever. He whom thou lovest now, after all, it was a stranger who came to you. You didn't know him before. And into a far stranger shall depart. She's trying to tell Savitri, look, she said, I understand that you have a magnificent soul and you have superhuman thoughts, but understand, this is not heaven. This is not the high worlds from which you have come, where the rule of death is not there. This is the mortal world where death rules, and everybody who comes into this earth dies. Lives and dies and comes again, has different experiences, meets different people, and so on. So she's explaining the whole earthly system to Savitri. And she says, to indifferent mighty nature, and becomes crude matter for the joy of others' lives. In a sense, we are here, most human beings. We sacrifice our lives, we give ourselves to others' lives, we are ourselves eaten by those we eat, right? Have you heard of this very famous quotation? The eater eats what is and is eaten himself. So everything is feeding upon each other. We are feeding upon plants and animals and vegetables. The animals are feeding upon other animals. We ourselves die and become part of the earth. We are ourselves eaten by the earth, by death, and so on. There is nothing that is permanent here. Okay? That's what she's saying. Now, our emotions are and even your emotions, she says, okay, you have great, deep love for him, but even your emotions are but high and dying notes of his wild music changed compellingly by the passionate movements of a seeking heart, in the inconstant links of hour with hour, to call down heaven's distant answering song, to cry to an unceased bliss is all we dare. Once seized, we lose the heavenly music sense. Too near, the rhythmic cry has fled or failed. All sweetnesses are baffling symbols here. So love dies before the lover in our breast. Our joys are perfumes in a brittle vase. Or then what wreck is this upon time's sea, to spread life's sails to the hurricane desire and call for pilot the unseeing heart. So these are all experiences that we can recognize. Okay, so nobody is speaking, you see, there are different planes of consciousness. So what the Queen Mother is explaining is also a very true explanation. There's nothing, it's not false. It is true at a particular level of existence. Or then what wreck is this upon time's sea, to spread life's sails to the hurricane desire and call for pilot the unseeing heart? O child, wilt thou proclaim? Wilt thou then follow against the law that is the eternal will, the autarky of the rash Titan's mood, to whom his own fierce will is the one law, in a world where truth is not, nor light, nor God? Will you then continue, O child, to proclaim and follow and go against the law with a capital L, that is the eternal will, the law of the earth, the evolutionary law, the autarky of the rash Titan's mood? Will you then go against that? And that Titan himself, will you go against the whole of evolution? She asks Savitri. Will you fight against truth? And in a world where truth is not, nor light, nor God, in this world, will you continue to fight like this? Only the gods can speak what now thou speakest. So she tells Savitri, look, only the gods can speak what you're saying. You're in the world, you're on earth. The earth is governed by a law. There are laws of nature, laws of existence. You cannot flout them, you cannot go against them. Only the gods can speak what now thou speakest. Thou who art human, think not like a god. For man, below the god, above the brute. So then she says, this is a beautiful passage. For you are human, think not like a god. For humanity is below the gods and above the brute, above the animals. What is man? He is the intermediary layer between the gods and the animal world. So man below the god, above the brute, is given the calm reason as his guide. He is not driven by an unthinking will, as are the actions of the bird and beast. He is not moved by stark necessity, like the senseless motion of inconscient things. The giants and the Titans' furious march climbs to usurp the kingdoms of the gods, or skirts the demon magnitudes of hell. In the unreflecting passion of their hearts, they dash their lives against the eternal law and fall and break by their own violent mass. So don't become like the Titans and the Asuras who, in the unreflecting passion of their hearts, because they're driven by passion, they dash their lives against the eternal law and fall and break by their own violent mass. The middle path is made for thinking man. So what is the path of man? The middle path. The middle path is made for thinking man, to choose his steps by reason's vigilant light. To choose his path among the many paths is given him, for each his difficult goal, hewn out of infinite possibility. Leave not thy goal to follow a beautiful face. Only when thou hast climbed above thy mind and livest in the calm vastness of the One, can love be eternal in the eternal bliss, and love divine replace the human tie. So she says, only when you have climbed above your mind and you live in the calm vastness of the One, she says, only when you are able to get into the consciousness of Satchidanand, which is a Brahmic consciousness, which is normally got by sages on earth through samadhi. So when you come to that state, only then can you, but as long as you're on earth and you're not in Satchidanand and in that samadhi state, if you are in the material body, you cannot have this. It's not possible. So there is a shrouded law, a hidden law, an austere force. There is a shrouded law, an austere force. It bids thee strengthen thy undying spirit. It offers its severe benignances of work and thought and measured grave delight as steps to climb to God's far secret heights. So she says there is that only through work and thought and through the world's path can one climb. So even if one wants to climb to that plane of Satchidanand, it has to be done through a yogic process of work and thought and measured grave delight as steps to climb to God's far secret heights. Then is our life a tranquil pilgrimage, each year a mile upon the heavenly way, each dawn opens into a larger light. Thy acts are thy helpers, all events are signs. Waking and sleep are opportunities given to thee by an immortal power. So canst thou raise thy pure unvanquished spirit till spread to heaven in a wide vesper calm, indifferent and gentle as the sky, it greatens slowly into timeless peace. So slowly going through the 4 stages of life, going through the works and the world, can you slowly get to this level of greatens slowly into timeless peace. So she says that in the world there is an evolutionary law and an evolutionary method. And if you want to go to this area of Satchidanand, of timeless peace in the world, there is a method to do it. You can't just say like this, what you're doing, that I will do what you want, I will. You can come and tell, like you challenge death and you challenge fate and you challenge time and says, like the way Savitri is doing. She says, no, that doesn't work here. You have to go through the whole, this is our old yogas, our yoga which is even now followed, through all the 4 stages of life. What are the 4 stages of life? Anyone knows? Brahmachari, Grihast, Vanaprastha, and the 4th, Sannyas. So you have to go through. So Queen Mother is speaking from a wisdom, old wisdom. And she's telling Savitri, you can't just jump and say, hey, now I'm going to do this. Because Savitri is very young, don't forget. And she has just gone into the forest and met her soul mate, so to speak, and is saying now, in 1 year, he's going to die, and she just got up and said, no, I won't allow it. So she replied again with steadfast eyes. So, but Savitri replied with steadfast eyes, my will, again note the word, will, my will is part of the eternal will. Savitri is conscious. My fate is what my spirit's strength can make. She's conscious. My fate is what my spirit's strength can bear. My strength is not the Titan's, it is God's. Because the Queen Mother keeps telling her that you are behaving like the Titan. You know what the Titan is? The giant, the great giant, almost anti-divine, but certainly adamantine, has its own will and its own thing written, So most Titans are great, like Ravana was a Titan, you can say. Great man, but a Titan. So she says, I am not a Ravan here. My strength is not the Titan's, it is God's. I have discovered my glad reality beyond my body, in another's being. I have found the deep, unchanging soul of love. Then how shall I desire a lonely good? or slay, aspiring to white vacant peace, the endless hope that made my soul spring forth out of its infinite solitude and sleep. My spirit has glimpsed the glory for which it came, the beating of one vast heart in the flame of things. So she says, my spirit has glimpsed the glory for which it came. You see, in that moment when Narad spoke and unlocked the wheels of destiny, in that moment, Savitri's own heart and will, she got to know what she had come on earth for. She discovered her own raison d'etre, purpose of existence, why she had come on earth. Through that, what Narad said was so powerful. That's why this is a very, very, very deeply occult chapter. Many, many levels and layers here of meaning. Every time you read it, you will discover another one. So that is why she said those words. You remember what Narad said? My words will do two things. It will steal the will of Savitri and it will unlock the wheels of destiny. It will now, nothing can change it. So she says, I have found the deep, unchanging soul of love. Then how shall I desire a lonely good, or slay, aspiring to white, vacant peace? Or you want me now to slay means to destroy my whole embodied self and go into a Satchidanand or a vacant piece of nirvanic bliss or moksha. So either you want me to go towards moksha or you want me to give up Satyavan and you tell me that you're a titan. So she's telling her mother that you are either telling me that I am a titan, I am a strong-willed person who is against the evolutionary law, against God's plan, against my own destiny, because the titan has a different function. Or you're telling me that you have to go to moksha and go to the path of moksha, which is a certain particular moderate middle path. Okay? My eternity clasped by his eternity, and tireless of the sweet abysms of time, deep possibility always to love. This is first, last joy to its throb, the riches of 1,000 fortunate years are poverty. Nothing to me are death and grief, ordinary lives and happy days. And what to me are common souls of men, or eyes and lips that are not Satyavans? I have no need to draw back from his arms and the discovered paradise of his love and journey into a still infinity. So she says, I have no need to. Who is Satyavan? The Satyavan in Savitri is a symbol. It's not only a story, it's not only based on historical myth, it is not only based on, but it is a symbol of the future. Each character is also a symbol. So who is Satyavan? You have to ask that question. I will not answer it for you. That is your discovery. But I will pose the question. It was posed to me 20 years ago by Temi Ben. One day I was in Golkund and she called me. She says, come to my room. We shall read Savitri. So I was quite taken aback. Okay. So I went to her room and in Golkund. And it was, I think, between 3:30 and 4:30 when she called me. And for 1 hour, she used to read Savitri and explain. And she kept telling me only one thing, asking me, who is Satyavan? So now, 25 years ago, I had no idea who Satyavan was. I hardly understood Savitri. So I told her, I don't know. So she said, well, find out who he is. And then one more thing she told me, she says, there is no Satyavan. Which again, mind in a tizzy. I said, what do you mean by there is no Satyavan? So I will leave those two thoughts with you. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, this is first, last joy, and to its throb the riches of 1,000 fortunate years are poverty. Nothing to me are death and grief, or ordinary lives and happy days. And what to me are common souls of men, or eyes and lips that are not Satyavans? I have no need to draw back from his arms and the discovered paradise of his love and journey into a still infinity. I have no need to go towards still infinity is what? Nirvana, moksha. I have no need to leave him and to journey into a still infinity. Only now for my soul in Satyavan, I treasure the rich occasion of my birth. So only because for my soul in Satyavan do I treasure, do I value the rich occasion of my birth. That means, do I value my entire life existence that I have been born on earth? Otherwise, it is no value. In sunlight and in dream of emerald ways, I shall walk with him like gods in paradise. If for a year, that year is all my life. If it is to be only for 1 year, then that year is all my entire life. I don't wish to live more. And yet I know this is not all my fate. And yet Savitri knows that this is not her fate. To come and live and marry Satyavan and die after 1 year. That is not her fate. And yet I know, but you say for a year, then if this is to be a year, according to your belief, then I am happy with that 1 year of life. However, I know that this is not all my fate, only to live and love a while and die. I have not come down on earth just to live and love a while and die. For I know now why my spirit came on earth and who I am and who he is I love. I have looked at him from my immortal self. I have seen God smile at me in Satyavan. I have seen the eternal in a human face. Then none could answer to her words. Silent they sat and looked into the eyes of fate. End of Canto 1.